If you've ever tried to sell anything, a product, an idea, heck, even just yourself in a job interview, you know that feeling. That feeling of hitting a wall of resistance. Sales objections are just their universal challenge. But what if I told you they aren't the end of the road? What if they're actually the beginning? Let's dive in.
Oh, we've all heard this one, right? Or maybe it's the classic, it's too expensive, or I'm just not interested right now. These phrases, man, they can feel like a door slamming shut in your face. And honestly, they're designed to do just that, to stop the conversation cold. So, what's your next move? Do you just back off and say, okay, thanks for your time? Do you get a little defensive? Or is there a third path? The answer to that question is exactly what we're going to unpack here.
Okay, first things first, let's just get real about the situation. Getting a no isn't a sign that you're failing, not at all. It's actually a sign that you're in the game. Objections are a totally normal, completely unavoidable part of the process. Now, this number right here, this is a total game changer. According to HubSpot, a whopping 60% of customers say no 4 times before they finally say yes. Let that sink in. 4 times. That one statistic should completely flip how you think about rejection. That first no is almost never the final answer.
And that leads us to a huge mistake that so many of us make. We treat an objection like it's a personal rejection. But the real key to success is making a critical mindset shift. An objection isn't a roadblock. It's actually an opening. The sales intelligence platform Cognism just nails the definition here. A sales objection isn't someone telling you to go away. It's them saying, hey, I have a concern. And that concern, that's your invitation to learn more, to understand their world a little better. It's your chance to go from a generic pitch to a real, actual problem-solving conversation. So this is a super important distinction to make. You have to learn the difference between a real objection and just a brush-off, what we call an obstruction. See, an objection like, I don't know if this will help me, that's a genuine concern you can work with. But an obstruction like, I don't have time for this, that's usually just an excuse. Your job is to gently get past that excuse to find out what the real concern is hiding underneath.
So how do you even start that conversation? Well, you start by figuring out what type of objection you're actually hearing. And it turns out pretty much all of them fall into one of 4 main categories. First up, the big one, the one you hear all the time, budget. This is all about price, cost, return on investment. What they're really asking is this thing actually worth the money? You'll hear stuff like, I'm not sure about the return on this, or the simple, we just don't have the budget. Next, you've got the trust objection. This one's all about credibility. Maybe they've never heard of your company, or maybe they got burned by a similar product in the past. Here, the real question is, can I actually rely on you and what you're selling? When they start mentioning your competitors or asking for case studies, that's a huge signal they're testing your credibility.
Then there's the need objection. This one pops up when the person you're talking to just doesn't see how your solution fits into their world. They're thinking, I don't really have the problem you're describing. You'll hear phrases like, we're doing just fine with our current system. It just means they haven't connected the dots between your solution and their pain points yet. And finally, there's the urgency objection. This is the classic kick the can down the road objection. It's all about timing. It's just not a priority for them, or they want to put it off. What they're saying is, why do I need to deal with this now? The dead giveaway is timing language, right? Call me next quarter, or this just isn't a priority for us at the moment. Okay, so once you've diagnosed the type of objection you're up against, you need a plan. And lucky for us, there's a really simple but incredibly powerful 4-step framework that works in almost any situation. This framework is your roadmap. First, and this is the hardest part, just listen. Don't interrupt, don't start planning your comeback in your head, just hear them out. Second, you validate what they said. Something as simple as, that makes total sense, or I understand, shows you're on their side. Third, you explore. Ask questions to dig a little deeper. And only then, once you really get the root of the issue, do you respond with a solution that's tailored to them. So remember, listen, validate, explore, respond. All right, theory is great and all, but let's put this thing to the test. Let's see how this framework actually holds up in the real world with a couple of super common examples. Okay, picture this. You're showing off some cool new software to a team lead who's been using spreadsheets for like a decade. They look totally overwhelmed, and then they hit you with this. This is a classic mix of a need and a trust objection. They're worried about how hard it'll be, and they're not sure they can trust it'll be a smooth process. So first, you just listen to their full concern. Then you validate it. I totally get it. New software can feel pretty daunting. Then you explore. What part specifically looks complicated? This helps you zero in on their exact fear. And finally, you respond directly to that fear. You know, our onboarding team specializes in making this super easy. See what you did there? You just turned their fear into a chance to show off your awesome customer support.
All right, now for the heavyweight champion of objections. You're in the final stages, they love the product, they see the value, and then they drop the classic budget bomb. Now, your first gut reaction might be to offer a discount, right? But that just devalues what you're selling. Let's try the framework instead. So again, you listen. Then you validate. I hear you, the investment absolutely has to make sense. Then you explore. A question like, when you say it's expensive, can you tell me a little more about that? Is just brilliant. It completely reframes the conversation away from price and towards value. And finally, you respond by connecting that cost directly to the return they're going to get, to the huge problem they're trying to solve. Suddenly, you're not talking about cost anymore, you're talking about solutions. So as we start to land the plane here, what's the one big idea you should remember from all of this? It really all comes down to one powerful reframe. Stop hearing no as a rejection and start hearing it as a question in disguise. No, because I'm worried about the price. No, because I don't trust that this is actually going to work. The second you start hearing the question behind the no, you can start having a real conversation. So, the next time you hear an objection, don't back down. Lean in, get curious, and ask yourself, what's the real question they're asking me? Because if you can answer that, you are well on your way to turning that no into a yes.